It feels like 2024 has been a year of a bunch of quirky and unique horror movies and thrillers, and we got another one to add to the list, Strange Darling. Stick around, I'm here to sing its praises. So I was actually fortunate enough to be one of the people who got to see this about a week early at some of the screenings that are going on across the country, and I have to say, I left thinking it was a very stylistic cat and mouse thriller, and honestly, not even using hyperbole, one of the most unique thrillers I think I've ever seen.
Are you a serial killer?
What did you just say?
Not to give too much away of where this ends up going, but the general gist of this movie follows two main characters, one played by Willa Fitzgerald, one played by Gallner. She plays a character called Lady, he plays a character called the Demon. And what you have is you have him following her with the opening scene with a gun, and he's a psychopath serial killer, and he's basically hunting her in the woods. You don't really know how you got there, it just kind of throws you right in the middle of the mystery. And the longer this film goes on, the more it starts unraveling things that you didn't really expect. Nothing is as it seems. There's a lot of twists and turns. And as I said, it really plays out like one of the most unique thrillers I think I've ever seen in the way this story is told. Now, starting off with what I really enjoyed about this film, I think this film is absolutely beautiful to watch. It's all filmed on film. They let you know that in the first shot of it. It's very stylistic. There's a lot of overexposed, long, drawn-out shots. There's a lot of color choices I really like. We'll have these scenes where characters are completely blue, completely red because of neon lighting and the way the lighting is contrasted. And it makes this movie stand out a little bit, the stylistic choices they went for. Like I said, I just think this movie is oozing with style. What pairs really well with the way this movie looks is the sound design and the score. I really like the music choices and the sound design in this. You have this consistent, very loud thumping when you're seeing the demon moving around on screen. And the music choices in this works well also because you have this very dreamlike, bubbly music that's constantly going on when they move through the chapters of this film. And it kind of makes you feel like you're in a dream state when you're trying to solve this mystery, understand where the thriller's going. I just think it fit really well. So that's something that stood out to me. I just think that's something, again, I always highlight in these films that makes a big difference when you have a suspenseful thriller. I think the music and the visuals in this paired really well to sell you on the mystery you're encountering. The main sell to this film is the way it's told because it tells you a story, like I said, that's a cat and mouse thriller between these two, but how they tell it is very unique. It's done in chapters. And a lot of films have done that where they kind of like do an intermission where they drop a chapter in front of you and they tell the story as it progresses. I believe Longlegs did that. But this film chooses to go about it a little bit differently. It starts off with chapter 3, I believe. So you're thrown in the middle of this story. You don't understand it. And it's not done linearly at all. It just bounces around between chapters. So you'll go from like 3 to 1 to 5. And you're seeing how this story unfolds. And the way it's told, it is a good story without the chapters. But I believe the chapters really elevate this story to make it feel a lot more unique when you're trying to fill in the gaps. It makes the mystery feel a lot more real. It made me very interested to think, was this written that way so he was going to always tell it like this, or did he film it in a linear fashion and then he decided to break it up because he knew it worked better? Just something I was thinking about when I watched this. I believe it would work really well even linearly, but it's an added wrinkle to it I think really sells you on how unique and interesting the mystery of this all is when it's done in the format they chose to do. I loved it. I think it's an incredibly unique way to tell a story that I can't really recall another movie has ever done. I need to point out how good the acting in this is because it's very important. The scale of this is not that big and you spend a lot of time with just two characters in these very small sets. So if they weren't good, this movie would be pretty generic, I think, but both of the leads are phenomenal. I'm so glad to see Gallner getting more work. I mean, I've always liked this guy since the Nightmare on Elm Street remake, which wasn't even that bad of a movie, but that's a video for another time. But in all seriousness, he's great in this. He sells you on the fact he's this creepy psychopathic guy chasing and hunting this girl through the woods. He has a lot of range. He's charismatic at some points. He's funny. He's downright deranged. He really sells you on the fact this guy's a creep. So again, I think he stands out. He's really good. But moving on to the other lead, Willa Fitzgerald. She's so good. I think she even steals the show from him, and that's saying something because, as I said, he is good, but she is next level in this. She has a ton of range as well, and that's important, as I said, because it's not that big of a movie. It really takes place between two characters for almost all of the runtime. And she kind of does it all as well at some point. She's kind of deranged, bubbly, funny. They're both very unsettling characters, which makes this mystery fun to figure out where it's going because you just spend a lot of time with two unsettling characters in their own regard. If this film was written and acted a different way, it would feel very generic, and it takes a film that feels very familiar and adds a little wrinkle to it and makes it feel very fresh and very unique. I respected that because, again, if they didn't do it in the way they did with the chapters and the acting wasn't so good, it would feel so familiar. But the way it's told, the way the twists happen, it really feels incredibly unique. And that's what makes it such a memorable movie. And that's why I respected it so much. If I had to mention one negative of this film, and it's kind of a nitpick, but it's told in 6 chapters, okay? So when you get to chapter 6, you start getting the payoff, the reveal of this mystery, things start unraveling. You have one scene in particular I thought in chapter 6, I'm not going to spoil it, but if you've seen the movie, you probably know what it is. I thought it was a jaw-dropping, amazing moment. I think that's where the movie peaks. If they would have just ended it there, chef's kiss, it would have been a perfect thriller, honestly. But I thought this film kind of suffered from never-ending-itis, where it just kept going on, and it never seemed to end. It just kept doing more and more, and I didn't really think it was needed. I don't necessarily hate anything in the last 15 to 20 minutes where I feel like it was just completely ruining of this film. I understand why it's there. I would have just preferred it personally if it wasn't in there and they ended it where I thought the film peaked. Again, this is a minor gripe. It's a preference. I'm sure some people will love the way this film ended. I just thought it went on a little bit too long. But if it would have stuck that landing right where I wanted it to, it might have been in the top 3 favorite films of the year. I liked it that much. So overall, guys, I think Strange Darling is one of this year's most gripping and unique thrillers. I thought it was a blast to try to unravel this mystery. I thought it was told in such a unique way. It's some great acting performances, a really original story. It's oozing style. I love the score of it. I had a really fun time with this. So if you like cat and mouse thrillers, you're looking for something new, I highly recommend you check out Strange Darling. I think it's good enough that it's worth buying on Blu-ray. To be honest, even with that minor gripe, it's still one of my favorite films of the year. So have you guys heard of this one? Are you guys interested in seeing this? Or are you some of the lucky people who got to see this one early? Comment down below all of it. Let me know in the comments. As always, if you haven't subscribed yet, what are you waiting for? I do it all on this channel. It's new releases, scary stuff, thrillers, rankings, all of it. Join me down below. I'd love to talk to you in the comments. All I got in this video. As always, I'll see you in the next one. Peace.